What's up, PCS Nation Facebook? We're out the window live. No music going in raw because we're coming off the pre-gaming in Twitter Spaces. We started about 15 minutes ago. Anybody who wants to talk in the conversation live with us on the show, go on the Twitter Spaces platform and grab a seat and a microphone and you can join us. We got a few people in here already. We got Teresa Carlson. We got all the Marys, I think, are in here. And, of course,
all the Marys.
We got Queen Linda. Everybody say hi so everybody knows I'm not lying.
Hey, we're all here. Hey.
Hey.
Happy Friday.
Happy Fat Friday. I'm tired today, man. I can't get excited tonight for some reason. You guys gotta, lift me up. But it is a freaky foggy night out. As you can see, you'll see it better when it gets darker, but it's what you can't see, actually. You can't see the blue top towers. Nothing. They're just cut off because of this layer of fog. And I was just saying before, I think what's going on is we've been having these 60-degree days for the last 3 or 4 days. And everybody out in the Midwest is telling me they've been having 80s and it's coming this way. And I think those two things are banging up against each other and creating this fog. But also, we're going to get some shitty weather over the next couple of days, which brings us to bad news, which is that it looks like we're probably not going on any kind of trip tomorrow, and probably not Sunday either. But there is a consolation prize that we'll get to later on. So what's going on, Queen Linda?
Well, not much. Although, today is the day that Donald Trump is no longer under an exclusivity contract with Truth Social.
Really?
And he has not done a tweet or anything yet, but today was the day that he was, that exclusivity thing was supposed to be over.
No kidding. I had no idea.
Yeah. And I think the way it was that anything he wanted to post that was not related to his campaign had to be on Truth Social for 6 hours before he could post it anywhere else.
I thought it was exclusive. He couldn't.
That part of it's over, I guess, now.
Wow. Oh, I didn't even know that. So that's something to look out for. I'll tell you what I was watching for today. It's kind of funny. And I was starting to put together a post about it. And then something else happened and I went with that instead. But I ended up listening to the last 10 minutes of Mike Pence making a speech at some Christian organization. I can't remember what the name of it was. If anybody knows, just either say so here on Twitter or dump it in the comments on Facebook. But he was making this speech and I caught the last 10 minutes of it. And it was, this guy has no chance, whatever. I can't not like Mike Pence. He just seems like a decent guy. I don't want to throw him to the lions or anything like that, but it's just silly that he's in this race. It's just ridiculous. And he's making this speech, and I'm saying to myself, this guy went on ChatGPT and just typed in, write me the most vanilla, empty, nothing political speech from the 1950s you possibly can, ChatGPT. And that's the speech he gave. And he said all the right things. He didn't say anything crazy. But it was just you're not saying anything. You're using thousands of words, but you haven't said a thing. But the one thing, and this is what leads back to the Trump thing, that he was actually very magnanimous about Donald Trump, which it was a little unexpected. And he said stuff like, I was proud to work with Donald Trump, and I'm proud of a lot of the things that Donald Trump did when he was president. And then he was and he didn't go crazy on him, but he was extending an olive branch. It wasn't the dynamic there is between DeSantis and Trump, or Trump and fucking anybody. And that's the reference. I was checking Truth Social to see if Trump was just ripping Pence apart on Truth Social as he was saying, oh, he wasn't such, I was proud to work with him. It was kind of funny. But he didn't. Good for him. Give him a little applause.
Yeah, you said, vanilla. It's that's what he's like. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
But he's so bland. It would be like eating cottage cheese for lunch every day.
What was he?
Yes, it would fill you up, but you don't enjoy it. You know?
What was he before? He was a governor or a senator? He was a senator, right?
He was governor.
He was governor of Indiana?
He was governor.
Indiana.
Governor of Indiana, I think.
So that seems perfect for him.
Yes.
Like, that seems right. Like, go be the governor, be a quiet little vanilla guy, and handle your business of your state. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, that's the job. Not being governor to use that as a stepping stone to be president or something like that. I don't know. And that's fine. Like, I got no...
He had a very good track record. I'm sorry, my dog's barking or something.
All right.
As governor, he did a lot of good for that state. I mean, they...
Yeah.
Positive and everything else. That's why one of the reasons why Trump picked him. I was reading Kellyanne Conway's book. He was her suggestion because he was from the Midwest. He'd done a good job in that area, and she felt he would draw voters, and Trump went along with her.
I'll tell you just off the top of my head, I bet the thinking on that was that it just didn't matter because no matter who you picked, in theory at that time, in the playbook that they were going with, it didn't matter a bit who the vice president was because Donald Trump was going to be the president and the vice president wasn't going to do anything except cut ribbons and show up for photos. Like, and that's not that far off of what the job description is now for vice presidents. But I think the design was that the vice president was going to be like even more so, less so. Like, it was just going to be like a very symbolic, like let's put it this way. If he didn't have to have a vice president, he probably wouldn't have. And since you did have to, that's like the bare minimum vice president you could bring in. And that's just like, who would you pick for that? You'd pick the little vanilla guy from Indiana, not the other flavored one from Indiana that's working for the other guys, but you know who I'm talking about, right? Picking little booty jig, little pothole Pete from Indiana. I wonder how they ever work together. Anybody know anything about that? Pothole Pete Buttigieg?
Well, they must have, because he was the mayor of a city.
Yeah, South Bend.
He was mayor of a city. Yeah,
South Bend, Indiana.
At some point. Yeah.
So I guess
they probably got along real well.
I bet you they probably did because like Pence is and on top of all the other stuff, like this is always like the metric I use is just like the mental metric to myself that I think they believe what they're saying is right. I think they believe in what they're saying. They think they're telling you the truth, whether they are or not. Like, he comes across that way. Like, whatever he's saying, whether it's wrong or not, or whether you agree with it or not, he believes in it and thinks it's right. And he comes across that way, and that's a big thing for me. You don't get that from everybody. You don't get that from every politician. And he's just, he presents himself. There's no reason to believe anything different. He presents himself as just a good, decent human being, like a Jimmy Carter kind of guy. Horrible president, but one of the most decent human beings you could ever imagine. Pence is kind of like that. But like, he just sits so right. I could see him, the governor of Indiana, and Mike Pence, Mr. Vanilla comes up this day, and it makes sense. Him as president, it's just a whole different game. Like, this guy's so out of his depth doing this. And the instinct always for me, and immediately, and a perfect example of this is that fucking toad Chris Christie, what a clown he is. He knows he has no chance of being elected president. He's getting in front of cameras and getting his name out there and getting people to send him money. It's fundraising. I characterize this as the worst freaking money grabbing scheme since the producers and Zero Mostel found the script for the freaking Springtime for Hitler play. All right, this is like a money making scheme when you get a guy like Chris Christie, and you take that same thing and you bounce it off of the guy we just described in Mike Pence, and that doesn't make sense. Like, he comes across as this decent guy, as this good guy, a Christian, and very plain. That's just not the guy who would go do something like that, who would run one of those schemes. But like I said, he's a politician on top of that. So maybe he might be the craftiest, sneakiest, most grimiest politician in the whole swamp, for all we know.
He might be. But, guys like that, guys like Mike Pence, they have like the most forgettable personality. In other words, I mean, they have no personality. It's like once they're off the stage, once they're done making their speech, you don't think about them anymore because their personality is so lackluster. But they're probably the ones that get the most stuff actually done.
Because they go to work instead of going looking for a camera. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
Like look, just name vice presidents as far back as you can remember, because I could probably only go back a few, and I'll probably get a few wrong. Every one of them's that. Every one of them's Al Gore. Rush used to call him Al Gore. He put the words together like a goof on Igor, because he was just like that. He was just like this ghoul. And even vice presidential candidates, they're always just vanilla white bread mayonnaise. Like, and I'm not saying that like racially. I'm just saying there's just nothing to them. There's nothing to them at all. There's no personality to them, like you just said. That's part of the job description. Shit like be so awful that they'll never shoot the president. Joe Biden as Black Jesus' friggin' vice president. Was there ever, first of all, and complete objectivity on this, because I loathe Barack Obama. I think he was the biggest charlatan, straight up, forget corruption, stuff like that, the biggest charlatan ever to sit in a high seat like that, okay? You had, like I started saying, objectively speaking, forget all that stuff. You took the first black man ever who was president of the United States, needed the most protection you could possibly put around him. There were probably death threats against him every hour of every day, 10 times more than any other president ever before, just because of that. It's shitty. And you know what? It stinks a little bit of this mythical systemic racism that people talk about. Okay, fine. I'll take that because it's kind of true. They had to put so much more security around him when he was president, and the Secret Service had to work so much harder keeping that man safe just because of that. And that's not what this is about, like what I'm saying. What it's about is a part of that was getting the biggest fucking buffoon you could possibly come up with in all of Washington that everybody knows is a moron, has been a moron for the 50 years he's been there, hasn't done a thing, has been on the wrong side of everything, has been on the wrong vote on everything good that ever happened. That's Joe Biden's resume. He checks every one of those boxes. Of course you make him the vice president for Barack Obama, who needs some lunatic out there with a friggin' shotgun or whatever to be on his way to the White House to take a shot at Obama, and here's on the radio, Joe Biden fucking called a bunch of people that worked at a 7-Eleven, said they had to have an Indian accent. And the guy says to himself, the psycho says to himself, this guy's fucked up, man. Maybe I not better do this. Maybe I better not do this. And backs off and does, do you see the dynamic there? That's the epitome of vice presidents, is Joe Biden, in the paradigm that it sits now, where all it is somebody that cuts ribbons and makes it so nobody wants to shoot the actual president because they'll end up with them. Kamala Harris. Thank you. Check, please. That's what it's involved to. It's like the natural progression. For a president who needs protection, you go from the Joe Biden to the Kamala Harris. It's nuts. Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna use that criteria from now on when these presidential candidates start naming their running mate. I am going to see if they all check off that criteria, and I bet you're right.
Which part?
About how, number one, it's got to be somebody who's so much worse than the president that nobody can kill the president. Yeah, and no personality and like that. You
know who's a great potential vice VP running mate? Chris Christie. Perfect. Because who the fuck would want that load, that 400 pounds of wasted fucking carbon and amino acids to ever be sitting behind the Resolute desk? They'd have to knock the fucking window out, first of all, and back it up a little bit. That he'd be perfect. That's a VP. He's got VP written all over him.
Hey, talking about presidential candidates, one of my favorite right now, Vivek Ramaswamy, he is in I think he's in right now. He is in the Quad Cities, which is, there's 4 cities, 2 on each side of the Mississippi, 2 in Illinois, 2 in Iowa. Davenport, Iowa. I forget the other one, Iowa. Moline, Illinois, and Rock Island, Illinois.
Okay.
Anyway, one of the local papers there for the Quad Cities ran a very racist political cartoon with him in it, and they actually apologized. They pulled that, or I don't think they pulled it because it was already printed in some of the papers,
right.
But in the online version of the paper, they
could apologize.
And they officially apologized to Vivek, and he accepted their apology. So, I mean, he's really taking the high road at this point, and just trying to be above it all, I think. But,
good for him. Good for him.
That was very nice, I thought.
He's going to get dragged into this. Like, eventually, this guy's gaining steam. And I'm not unhappy about that. Like, I like the guy. I fucked up a little the other night when I jumped to a few conclusions, and I think I apologized fair enough for him. But I genuinely do like this guy, and he's got all the right ideas. I don't know, how old is he? Do you know how old he is?
He seems very young.
That's what I was getting at. Because I don't...
Yeah, I don't know how old he is, but I do like him too. And he sued the WEF, which I like that.
Oh, yeah. He's 37 years old. That's quite young.
Yeah, boy, that's young. That's younger than I even thought he was. I thought he was like in his 40s. I don't know. You know what? We're all talking about how it's ridiculous that Joe's running, and he's going to be like 100 if he freaking over humanity if he wins. But there's the other side of that coin too. That's a little young. He's not, who am I quoting here? But you're no John F. Kennedy, who said that in one of the debates to somebody else, which was actually pretty good. That was a great line. But I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have me quite that good yet. That's younger than I thought. That is very prohibitive for me for endorsement. That's a little young. Maybe 28. Or maybe as a running mate. A young running mate. And like a legit, but then see, that just bounces right off what I was just talking about though. Because you take a bright young guy like that with good ideas, who's not afraid to say them, and is willing to talk with the opposition and willing to work with the opposition, and you throw him into that role and you ruin him. You just ruin him. He becomes a buffoon. He becomes exactly what I just described. Like you could theoretically take a bright star like that and snuff it right out by putting him in that role. That's a damn shame. He should stay entirely away from having anything to do with me and a vice president. And I take all that back. That's twice now I fucked up on him in 2 live shows. We shouldn't talk about him anymore. It's making me look bad. No, but all kidding aside, like the guy's got a lot of great ideas. It's a shame that he's that young.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just getting perilously close to saying dumb shit again like I did the other night. While I kind of retracted what I said and apologized for it, I still stand by the fact that his ethnicity is going to be a very, very big weight to bear in trying to get elected president of the United States.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I'm a pretty bright guy, and I didn't pick up on the fact that he wasn't a Muslim, and I kind of acted like an asshole about it. And I'm a pretty smart guy, and there's a lot of people out there that aren't as smart as I am who are not going to get it either. And it's just going to be, he's got a rough road, and he's gaining steam. He's polling. His poll numbers are getting better for whatever that's worth, and he's saying all the right things. He's running a lot of ads on Twitter. But they're not annoying. It's not the same shit like a big placard with his face on it and saying, vote for this guy, like everybody else does, or this other guy sucks, vote for this guy. Every time he puts up an ad, it's tied to an idea. It's tied to a statement. It's tied to an opinion. So it stays fresh. He's got a good grasp on communicating with what is a critical demographic. And that's people who hang out on Twitter. That's your millenniums. That's your tech people. That's your busybodies and trigger provocateur assholes like me. That's the Village Square, folks. That's like where it's at right now. And he's got a good line on communicating with them. I am not in the least bit offended by his advertising on Twitter, where it's like, I'll see other candidates popping that shit up, and even Trump, well, he's not doing anything on Twitter, but you know what I'm saying? Where it's just like, enough of this bullshit already. God, you're not typing these tweets. You got some intern, 24-year-old kid sitting in an office picking his nose and typing this stuff out on a phone with the other hand. Spare me that shit. This guy's genuine. This guy's like, and it's the same thing I just said about Pence. He believes what he's saying. And I gotta listen to someone who genuinely believes what they're telling you. You know, he doesn't come off like, I'm just saying this shit now, but it's going to be something entirely different when I sit in that seat next January, or 2 Januaries from now. Again, he has no chance, and under the best of circumstances, in this particular election, nobody's got a chance at that GOP nomination as long as Donald Trump is in it. If Donald Trump, for some reason, ends up out of it, it's going to be a mayhem trying to sort it out and come up with a candidate. But as long as Donald Trump is in this race, he's going to get that nomination. There's no way that's not going to happen. Does anybody jump in right now and say whether you disagree, agree, or whatever? Like, let's hear it. Go.
I agree with that about Trump. If Trump's in it, he's going to take the nomination.
He's definitely going to get the nomination if he's in it.
And it's not even...
And that's a big if.
It's not even the polling, because you know how I've been quite open about how I feel about polls. They're just silly parlor games to keep us entertained in between people throwing bombs at each other in political campaigns. It's just the trends that you're seeing. And you go on, like, here's a gauge for you too, all right? I know all you Twitter haters, you don't want to go on Twitter, fine. You can do this on Minds or Gab, and it's not going to work as well, because when you start getting into those echo chamber social media platforms where everybody's on the same side and it's just really, really Mike Pence vanilla when you get in there, it's not going to work so good there. But try this when you're on Twitter, okay? Go on CNN on an article about, let's just say there's an article tomorrow that comes out about Donald Trump and the documents, okay? Go on CNN and look at the reactions. You don't have to read the article. Listen, you read everything, and I've said this a million times before. It doesn't matter where you get your news from, because if there's a 3,000-word article about something that happened, at some point, there are going to be the words that tell you what happened. And your job as an intelligent person is to just find out what happened, and make it not matter all the rest of the shit that they put in that's CNN or MSNBC or Fox News' opinion. Every one of those places is going to tell you what happened somewhere in their article, in between telling you what they think of it. So it doesn't matter where you get your news source. But do this. Go on Twitter. Go to CNN about that article about Donald Trump's illegal classified documents, and go in the responses and see how people are responding to that. And what you're going to see, and what I'm seeing a lot, is, yes, you're going to get CNN people saying, yeah, right, Orange Man bad, blah, 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 lock him up. But the majority of the responses you're seeing on articles like that, on anti-Trump stuff like that, anti-DeSantis stuff like that, is Trump supporters going on there and just ratioing it, just ripping it apart and throwing it right back at him. If you go on the other side sites, you don't see that dynamic anywhere near as much. There's a trend going this way. And again, there's nothing scientific about this. And I was just using Trump as an example. It's not necessarily even that. It's just anything at all. Put DeSantis in that. Put what people think about the submarine in that. And just watch the responses. And when you get into the stuff about the Republican side of it, and the primaries, and who's running on the Republican side, all you have to do is just go in the comments about any post, any tweet about any candidate, and it's just packed with 80% Trump supporters saying, go fuck yourselves, you people are idiots, this guy's going to win. So that's, whatever. Like I said, it's not scientific. I'm not John McLaughlin here with the polling company. I'm not, whatever. Who does polls? Like fucking whoever does polls. I'm not them. I'm the former screw slinger and C-list internet entertainer. I'm just talking shit. But I have common sense, like the name of the fucking planet we're on. And you look at this stuff and you can see it. You can see where that's going. There's no candidate in this race right now, and they're still getting in it. And it's like, what the fuck are you even doing? Because you're ridiculous. No candidate in that GOP primary has any chance of getting the nomination aside from Donald Trump, as long as Donald Trump is in the race. Now, you want to talk about what happens as far as that goes? We can go into that next, because I heard a couple of people had a few things to say about it, if that happens. So bring it on. What do you think about that? Is Donald Trump going to be in the race 6 months from now, a year from now, 15 minutes from now? Is he still going to be in the race? Anybody? Linda, you're always good. Quick, go.
I got a feeling that the whole thing against Trump with the court case is going to get thrown out before it ever goes to trial.
At what stage? Like how? Tell me how. Why?
Well,
on what grounds?
I don't know what stage, but I mean, I think at some point his lawyers are going to file some motion for something. And the judge will agree with it, and it'll get thrown out.
Okay.
The trial date for the classified docs, I think, is August 14th.
Yeah, I heard the middle of August.
Already?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's August. Yeah. And then I saw an article today on the Hill. They're saying how it's going to be a rough Christmas for his attorneys. I don't know. I just, with all the crap, like Hunter getting off and all the crap, I don't know. I don't see a clear, like, this is a slam dunk and they're going to dismiss it. I just don't. And then you still have the stupid thing for Georgia with the election thing. They're trying to RICO charge it. So it's
still
like
got the case in New York.
And I just keep thinking, like, sooner or later, they're gonna make sure something sticks sooner or later. Don't know why I think that way. I just do. And I don't know. I'm not secure.
In a perfect world, he would go to trial, and everything could come out and be public, and then he would be found not guilty. I mean, that would be the perfect ending.
You know what else too?
Like, okay, we went to trial, we did the whole thing, everybody gave their testimony under oath, and there wasn't enough there. So now it's really over, and we can stop talking about it.
No, it would be a perfect world, especially like when the discovery starts coming out and you start like talking about how the precedent was set for Bill Clinton and all that kind of stuff. But then again, it goes to what media outlet is going to actually tell the truth.
Right.
Is it going to be Fox? Maybe, probably not. Or Newsmax, who the left automatically will tell you, oh, that's a Trump station. So will CNN, will MSNBC, will the whoever the lawyers on The View, will they actually be like, well, gee. So that's the thing. It might come out, but how for us who know, it'll come out. But the people who need to know, will it come out for them?
It won't. It's
that's
just
the
like
question.
we were talking about the other night. It's exactly what we were talking about the other night. You know, you can get this stuff. You can get the impeachments they're talking about, these ridiculous impeachments that they're talking about. You can get any of that done. You can get this evidence out. The tweet or the WhatsApp that with Hunter threatening his Chinese corruption counterpart that got released. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't get disseminated. It doesn't matter if it doesn't get spoon-fed to the unhinged left. Unwashed masses that just aren't going to think for themselves. They're going to wait with that thing in their hand, pushing buttons. They're going to wait for that little device to tell them what they think. Or not tell them what to think. Or not tell them what to think about. And that's that. So, and that actually goes to the other half of the question is we're talking about, is Trump going to be in the race? Do you think Joe Biden's even going to be in this race? Anybody?
I don't know. I know that they're saying yeah, and I think Hillary's going to make a reappearance. I don't know why. I think she is. I hope not. I think she is. I don't think she's done because she's been out doing her talks and making, she's not riding off into the sunset. So
Don't say such things.
I get it.
We can't. No, you know what? I'm kidding around. That'll be a hell of a lot of fun. That'll be a blast if Hillary gets back into this fucking fracas. Because it'll just, like, it's already, like, the greatest show on earth.
I think right now the establishment Dems are standing down because Joe's saying he's running.
Okay, but
so
you know...
they're not rocking that boat.
It's not what I was getting at, though. What I was getting at is... This thing, I should have actually set it up better because it didn't make sense the way I said it, I guess. I'm just dense tonight. No, it's me too. Whatever. I mean, it's a combination of the two. This whole thing that just is starting to come out now with the WhatsApp message. I mean, and I said it kidding around. I made another post after. I posted that thing like, did anybody think this was real or not? And then I put up the post after his lawyers were bitching about how it got released and why you're releasing this private stuff, which basically admits that it's legitimate. So if that's real, that has to get out. They have to get that out.
It is.
You can't.
They're going to say that the DOJ already ruled and it's already done. It's like the laptop crap. What are they saying? Oh, Russian disinformation. And then it was like, oh, well, it wasn't his. And then even when he sued the shop owner, okay, for all this stuff, it still gets glossed over. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm really not.
No, not at all.
Honest.
Not at all.
I'm just being honest. The biggest obstacle we have is the friggin' media.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If that's the biggest obstacle. So I think that as long as they are spoon feeding him and they have him wrapped in bubble wrap and with baby bumpers, crib bumpers around him, and they're making excuses for him, and the View crew are making excuses for him, it's gonna be the same as 2020. He's gonna be okay, and then because of his gaps and him falling or whatever, they might end up like middle of middle of his term, put someone in there. But I don't see them doing anything to him at all. I think Bongino showed a clip today of Obama talking about we don't have a one-party justice system and we're fair, but he wasn't talking about Biden. He was digging for Trump.
Right.
So I think the biggest issue is, will this actually get to the mainstream media, and will they say, what the frick? Like, Joe, you gotta go. If they're not saying that, then we are where we are.
You think it's like kind of like I always talk about finding a line. Like the Democrats are finding a line with Joe and saying this shit's just enough now. We need to take you out. We need to pull you. We need to bring in the reliever now. You pitched a great game, Joe, but it's time to hit the showers. Like, is it that kind of thing where they're finding their line and they're getting to that? That's what you're thinking? Hello?
I don't know.
All right.
Maybe.
That's a fair answer.
I don't know when their line's going to be. Because to me, their line should have been like 6, you know what I mean?
Their line should have been as soon as somebody said, maybe we should run Joe Biden for president. That's where the Democrats' line should have been in perfect world.
The line should have been when Tony Bobolinsky came out and he was doing the interviews. That's when the line should have been like, what the heck?
Yeah. He's a mess.
You know what I think?
Tell me.
I don't think we have a line, you know? You're always talking about find your line, people.
Right.
I honestly think the line for most people is so far off on the horizon, they're never going to get to their line.
Well, they're going to get to it too late, which is probably part of the design.
They're going to get to it too late.
We've gotten to every line too late. Look what's going on around you. Like how quick you got from, which we talked about, I think, just a couple of weeks ago, how quickly you got from men going in the ladies' bathroom at Target to an entire demographic of the United States that hates the rest of us because we won't play their mental illness game with them and don't call them the names they want to be called. How quick that happened. Yeah, like we're not good at finding lines. That's why I encourage it so much. And I'm sitting here in an attic talking into a phone. I'm not out there like starting a militia. You know, maybe I'm not the one to even be talking about this, but I'm trying to make the point that like that line's out there and you keep finding it just a hair too late, and eventually you're just not even going to have a chance anymore. And we're hurtling quickly toward that, I think.
Yep. Hey, I got to tell you a comment that AJ made on Facebook.
I was just looking at the Facebook comments too. Go ahead. You go first.
Okay, about the text the text that was supposedly from Hunter to the Chinese counterpart.
Right.
He said he's a little bit skeptical about the text itself, but
Yeah.
not really about that a text like that ever happened. Those texts definitely happened. Whether that is a word-for-word screenshot of an actual text, I think we all kind of are skeptical about it, but we all know that those type of texts went back and forth all the time.
All right, so two things on that real quick. First of all, it's real clear, and it's exactly right what he said and what you said about the text itself. And I was very clear in that post about, like, I could put this thing together. I could, and I'll go do it. Like, if I have a couple minutes tomorrow, I'll take that text and I'll make an identical one that says, hey, Chinese counterpart, my dad's a dementia-addled asshole and we can't do business anymore. Sorry, your pal Hunter. And it'll look exactly like the text you saw. I can do that. And I also said Joe Biden could do that, or Donald Trump could do that, who's the one who tweeted it, which is probably not true, but he could get somebody to do it for him. Yes, being skeptical about the actual screenshot. There's no, and in fact, it's not unethical to recreate a tweet like that, because how often, like, you see these things that pop up on your Facebook feed all the time about like funny dad tweets or funny mom tweets or whatever, boyfriends and girlfriends breaking up online. You see them all the time where you go and it's a clickbait thing and there's a list of 50 different ones. Those aren't from the people's phones. They're all the same. Like, think about it. When you go through those lists, I don't know, maybe I'm the only idiot who clicks on that shit. But when you go down the list of those things and you see the little snippets of the conversations, they're all the same color, the same black or green and blue with a white background, the same font, everything. That's not 50 screenshots from 50 different phones. Like, that's not the way that works. So yes, that's in advertising. It's not in real life. But in media, they'll do that too. They'll take something like that where obviously you're not going to have access. Like, they didn't go to Hunter Biden and say, listen, could we take a screenshot of your phone where you texted about your dad's corruption to the Chinese guy? Of course that didn't happen. So taking the quote that the person who is allegedly a witness said and putting it into a format that you can post on the cyberverse is not an unethical thing. And that's why I was very clear about it in the post. I wasn't saying like, look how cool I am, I could do this. I was saying it because anybody can do that, and it's not a disqualifying element to whether this is a legitimate. It has nothing to do with whether that text or WhatsApp, whatever it's called, actually happened or not. That was just presentation. That was like when the guys in Congress show up with a placard, and when it's their turn to speak, they put the placard up. That is just, that placard is obviously not the phone that the text message was on, but you see what the text message looks like. So that's all that was. So don't let that pull you off of the message. Like, don't let that, in fact, just disregard it altogether. It's just presentation. It's just a graphic, like any media outlet uses. Go with the content and go with what's said, and ask yourself, does this sound, you don't know, like, and nobody knows. The people who have that, they don't know what the other guy on the other end of the line was thinking or saying. They don't know what Hunter was thinking or saying. They just know these words. So nobody knows, so they don't know. There's no reason that you would know anything, okay? But read the words in your head. And if you can, not everybody can, but if you can, read them in Hunter Biden's voice that you've heard in interviews saying all sorts of crazy shit about what an addict he was and he did this and he can't believe it and whatever, and hookers and crack and everything. Take those words and read them in Hunter Biden's voice as best you can, and say to yourself, does this sound like this guy? And you can't tell me it doesn't sound exactly like what Hunter Biden would have said to his corruption partner in China in that WhatsApp message. You just can't. You can't deny that. Theoretically, that sounds exactly how I would think Hunter Biden would talk to somebody. Pompous, arrogant, privileged, knowing nothing's going to happen to him, nothing ever, no matter what he does, and telling everybody, you're going to do this shit because of who I am, and if you don't, I will fuck you over. You can't deny that text in Hunter Biden's voice seems legitimate to you in your gut. You don't know anything. The people that are telling you about it don't, quote unquote, know anything. But listen to your gut on shit like this when you don't know, just to get started, just to build a little foundation for what you're ultimately going to develop as your opinion. Read those words in Hunter Biden's voice, and it's undeniable that in theory, that absolutely could have been said by Hunter Biden. Again, we're getting G-metrics tonight. We're getting all sorts of things to measure things by tonight. It's like, I feel like Sesame Street, like the count. We're learning shit.
Yeah. Hey, I got off topic, but I just want to throw it out there. For the people that are just listeners, if you want to send a request to speak, go for it. If for some reason you can't send a request to speak, but you want to, give me some kind of signal, like with a little, thumbs up or emoji or whatever, and then I'll send you an invite. But I'm just assuming that you're just waiting until you have something to say, and then you'll send your request.
Well, don't wait too long, though, because we're only going about another 20 minutes. We'll hang out on Spaces a little bit after the show if anybody wants to, but we're going up till 9. And we still got a few other things to go to. We have to talk about this aborted trip tomorrow. I kind of, you know what? I'm going to say it because I started saying it already, and I should have just not even started saying it, but not talking about that submarine, I can do with that. Like, I'd be okay if we didn't in the last 20 minutes we have. If everybody's all right with that, we can talk about that some other time, because I got an hour and a half to say on that. Starting now, we'll be here all fucking night. Or we can just keep talking about, like, fun stuff. I don't know. The trip tomorrow, let's just get that out, because I don't even really think I told too many people what we were doing, except for my little cabal of closest PCS Nation associates who I discussed this with on, where did we do that? It wasn't Spaces, it was chat. We're going to go to a pro track meet, like a legit high-level, top-end, this is your 2024 Olympic team track meet here in New York City at the same stadium that we were going to go to for the beer mile, but I aborted that mission because I didn't want to walk through 125th Street at 11 o'clock at night to come home. So yeah, we were going to do this, and it was going to be cool, and I was going to get you all hyped about it. I was going to get you all, I swear, I had like a whole bunch of talking points, like a Democrat asshole. Like, I had a whole bunch of pre-planned talking points to like get you psyched about this, because I know if I got you there, we would have made it fun, and I made you, whatever, maybe not make a track fan out of you, but you would have at least had a good time watching me be an asshole, which is always fun. How could that not be fun? But it looks like we're going to have to abandon this mission because the weather's just looking like shit. They said it's going to be like 90% chance of rain all day tomorrow, ranging from just like regular steady rain to thunderstorms and stuff like that. And it's like a 1.5 mile walk from the 125th Street station to the stadium, which I would get soaked going in. It's an outdoor event, which I would get soaked during it and then soaked again for the 1.5 mile coming back. And I'm just not about that. So, again, like, I can't remember if I said it during the Spaces before we started the show, or if I said it here on the Facebook Live, but I'm going to get up in the morning like it's a go and check the weather one last time. But it's been trending towards getting worse, not getting better. So it looks like we're grounded tomorrow. It looks like we're not going anywhere tomorrow. That would have been fun. That would have been, honestly, I was just going to say, like, this is the thing I was telling to everybody on Spaces earlier, that when I talk about these things, like this track meet, for me, it's called the New York City 2023 New York City Grand Prix. It's the highest level professional track meet there is. This meet tomorrow, they're still going to have it whether it's raining or not. I'm just not going to be there. There's going to be 30 people in this meet that are going to be on that Olympic team in Paris in 2024, which is just, that's a cool thing. Like, and the comparison for me was like, if you're a golf fan and there's a high profile golf course, country club near you, and you're a golfer or a golf fan, and they have a PGA stop there every year. That's a big deal for you. Like, you go to that and you see whoever the top golfers are at that time. Or like if you live near like a NASCAR track or something like that, and you go to the races and you see your favorite races. Like, that's that for me. And I kind of wanted to see if I could make y'all understand a little better how that was. But not only that, there was like a lot of other stuff involved in it too. Like, B, the fact that it is high performance athletes. Like, these are people, the best in the business at what they do. It's like watching Tom Brady be a quarterback, or you know, he's a scumbag and all, but LeBron James play basketball. That's some of what we would have seen tomorrow, just from a different perspective. Another thing about it was the stadium itself actually has a lot of history. Icon Stadium, I don't even know who the guy is who they named it after, but they only built it about maybe like 15 years ago. It's on Randall's Island. Randall's Island is the place that has the history. There used to be another stadium on Randall's Island called Downing Stadium, which was a big, huge field with a track in the middle of it, with concrete slabs stacked on each other about 30 feet high and about 100 yards long next to the track, which were the stands. And that was Downing Stadium. And Randall's Island is actually the place where it is. It's an island just off of Harlem into the East River. I think it's in the East River, off of Manhattan. And like my son Kevin was asking me about if I ever competed at Icon Stadium when I was in high school. I was like, no, that wasn't there. I competed though at Randall's Island at Downing Stadium. His grandfather, we were talking about drum corps a couple of days ago, or maybe last week. Any given Friday night, like in the late 50s and early 60s, there were a half a dozen drum and bugle corps rehearsing on Randall's Island on any Friday night you went there. My dad used to do that, so like that was our personal history with it. But like they had huge concerts there too, and I was looking, since me and Kevin were talking about it, I started looking, because I knew about this stuff, but I just looked for something to send him. And I found a concert poster. Maybe I'll post it later. It was Jimi Hendrix played here, like at this stadium we're going to go to tomorrow. It was a place Jimi Hendrix played. It was a place, what year was it? I guess it was 2000. No, it must have been 96. The 96 Lollapalooza Festival tour, which was one of the early ones. I think that's only like the second or third year they had that there. Metallica played there. Like everybody played there. Like this is a big old concert venue. So you had the history of the stadium too, which was kind of cool. And it's like an aesthetically cool stadium. It's a very small one, but it's neat. And it's a dedicated track and field stadium too. Like it's not a track laid out around a football field and they have football games there and then sometimes track. Like this is a dedicated track and field stadium. It's one of the only, a handful of them in the country. And the only cooler track, there's one out in Oregon that has a whole fucking forest in the middle of one end of the track. Like you got you see them go around like the back stretch and then around the turn on the left side and then across the front stretch in front of you. And then they run into fucking woods. Like the track goes through woods. You can't even see the runners. It's pretty cool. Has nothing to do with what I'm talking about though. The third element of this trip was legitimately taking that walk down 125th Street in daylight, which is a lot safer in New York City these days, because just a genuine American, iconic American history in that part of New York City, 125th Street. That's the heart and soul of Harlem. And whatever you all hear bad shit about Harlem, it's not as, I don't know for sure. Like I don't have any comparison, but from what I've heard, it was way worse there, like in the 70s than it is now. It's not great. I haven't been there in a while, so I couldn't say, but like I've worked down there. It's not the horror stories you hear. It's like they use that shit. It's stereotypical bullshit and they make it sound awful. It's not a great place. It's better than it has been, whatever the case may be. Set all that stuff aside. Just the history of places like the Apollo Theater and just the eateries down there, Sylvia's and just all the restaurants and stuff like that. And like there's the store, I think it's called Jimmy Jazz. It's a clothes store. It's like a hardcore, laser-focused demographic, ethnic clothing store, if you can figure out that little Kamala word salad. And that's got history because Mike Tyson and Mitch Blood Green got into a street fight in that Jimmy Jazz clothing store. Like there's so much iconic American history on that street. And the pics I would have got would have been tremendous. So, like, this was going to be a cool trip. Like, I was going to make it a cool trip no matter what. And I was going to enjoy the track meet. But it's not looking great. I'm going to get up in the morning, check the weather. And we'll see. Maybe we'll still go, but it's not looking so good.
Yeah, and you said that actually that track meet is going to be televised.
It's going to be on NBC. Yeah, from 3 to 5.
I looked it up on my TV guide, and here it's supposed to be from noon till 2 my time.
If you were thinking about watching it,
goes all day long, but from noon till 2 is when their coverage is going to
yeah, see, this is the way it was going to work. They were going to start the field events at 10 o'clock. Because when they put it on the networks, they don't cover the field events. Because, like, if you're not into it, the field events is like, it's just, you're not going to sit there and watch it on TV. And it comes down to the fact that it's attention span. There's two incidents. I'm going to give you a little bit. See, since we're going to go and we're learning things tonight, I'm going to teach you a little bit about why track and field isn't a big sport in the United States. And it's all about the attention span of the American sports viewer, and particularly the ones that sit and watch it on TV. Okay? There's a happy window. There's a happy zone of the attention span for when you're watching stuff on TV. Okay? And that can be altered, and we'll get to an example of that at the end. But somewhere in between about 30 seconds and 4 minutes is that sweet spot in the American sports viewers, casual sports viewers' attention span. And you have to come up with things that fit into that zone, or they're not going to work on TV, okay? And the problem is that field events don't do that, because you have a shot putter, okay, Ryan Krauser, right now, so far ahead of anyone else ever did in that event. He is the greatest of all time. He's setting records that aren't going to be broken for 30 years, okay? Nobody knows this guy because nobody will put him on TV, because he goes into the ring, he goes into the shot put ring with his ball, and he's in that ring for 10 seconds, and it's over. And you don't get the perspective of how far he did, or just the impact of what it takes to take that 16-pound ball for a human to move it from here to all the way out there, and the physics involved in that. And you don't get that. You get a little 3-second burst of him doing his thing, and then it's over, and he gets out, and then there's like a 2-minute pause until the next big hairy fat guy comes and gets in the circle, and he does his 3-second thing, okay? That doesn't fit in the spectrum of what's going to appeal to the American sports viewer, the casual American sports viewer on a Saturday afternoon. At the other end of it, the distance racing gets cut off, because you can't go past that 4-minute mark, because you're going to start getting bored. And there are exceptions to that. You'll watch, listen, NASCAR, go down the street, make a left, go down the street, make a left, repeat 500 fucking times, okay? I don't disparage the sport. Like, I'll sit down and watch that for a while, but I don't know how you sit there and watch them go 500 laps or whatever they do of doing the same thing. I couldn't do that. And I'll give you a nice example of that if I remember to, but it's not pertinent, so if I forget, it's okay. The point being, they don't go any further on the marquee television coverage than the 1,500 meters outdoors and the mile indoors, okay? Because those races are wrapped up in just about 4 minutes, and that fits within the attention span. So you don't go to the 3,000, which goes about 8 minutes. You don't go to the 5,000 meter, which goes like 12 to 13 minutes, and you clearly don't go to the 10,000 meter, because that takes about 27 minutes. You do use the marathon because there's about a 3-minute interval at the start of the marathon in the stadium, where they run around the track a couple of times, then they go out the gate and into the streets of whatever city it's in, and then they fuck off for about 2 hours. And you got your 3 minutes. That fits in the window of attention span. 2 hours later, whoever survived out of those guys come right back in through the gate, back onto the track, around track 2 times and across the finish line, and collapse and fucking die because they just ran 26 miles. And it fits in the 3-minute attention span. So you get the marathon, and that's a marquee event when they televise this stuff. Other than that, that's how that works. So that whole just ridiculous tirade that probably didn't make sense to half anybody, maybe it did, whatever, comes back around to why they have that set up the way they do. You're going to get that 2 window. The field events tomorrow, which is what I think they were having at this. They don't have every one of them at every meet. They're having shot put, discus, hammer throw, javelin, high jump. And I think they might have been having long jump as well. They start in those events at 10 o'clock in the morning. Your coverage, like you said, starts at 12 or whatever your coverage. The coverage here on TV starts at, I want to say 3 o'clock. because they're having a whole bunch of like local kids races. They're making a big thing out of this and like bringing the community into it. They do it every year. There's races for kids. There's races for what they call masters, which is older people. And then they have the pro races like intermingled with that. But the marquee races that they're going to put on TV in that 2-hour slot between 3 and 5 here in New York and whatever you said, 12 and 2 for you in Wisconsin, they're going to take the mile. They're going to take the 800 meter, which is a minute and 50-second race. They're going to take the 400 meter, which is less than a minute race. They're going to take the 100 because it's exciting. It's the most exciting. And it's a 10-second race, which is the bottom end of that attention span thing. So that's why they do that the way they do that. So they were going to have all the field events in the morning. None of that was going to be on TV. They'd show clips of it in between races when they did the 2-hour broadcast, but you wouldn't actually see that live. You'd only see those 4 or 5 races. And if you watch it, it should prove out exactly the way I just said it. They'll just show you that hand. You'll see the 100, the 200, the 400, the 800, the 1500, couple of hurdles races, and then you'll see clips of the field events intermingled in between the races. Because of the American casual sports fan watching on TV attention span. That's how that works. If anybody gave a shit.
Ooh, I feel so much smarter now. No, I really do. I really do.
You almost just choked me out.
I'm always so glad when you explain things like that.
I didn't even know I was going to do that.
I know.
It just came out.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about
Those are
having
the best.
have a fucked up friend like me that's online, so you don't have to like actually acknowledge them. Like you could just turn the phone off and I'm gone. It's good to have a friend like that.
Put my mic on mute, go to the bathroom, come back,
Get some pizza.
put the mic back on, you're still talking.
Oh boy. I did want to quickly address one last question because Cheryl Ogletree, I'm trying to keep track and I'm walking around the room, I'm pacing around this fucking room. It's kind of weird and a little creepy. My neighbors are probably like listening at the door and not understanding a word I said because none of them speak English. Cheryl Ogletree is on the Facebook platform. That's what I was starting to say. I'm going back and forth and just seeing who's here and who's there and whatever. And I haven't been paying attention much. How does impeaching a Kamala Harris work? She should be charged with. The comment disappeared, and you all know how I suck at the scrolling, but
Here, I got it.
it doesn't. It does like yeah. Go ahead, read it. Just read it so everybody knows
You want
what
me
I'm
to read it? It says, yeah, she should be charged with dereliction of duty and booted out already.
Absolutely.
But with our frigging luck, they put Michael Robinson Obama as VP, and it could be worse.
But no, if they impeach her, I don't know how that works. I always thought that if they impeach, no, it does work that way. If they impeach her, all right. If they don't impeach the big guy, so the big guy stays president, and she's the vice president. If she gets impeached, but the big guy doesn't, then McCarthy would move up to vice president, I think. But I could be wrong on that because I don't know. Anyway, you don't. The answer to the question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve their term, whether they, pass away or get impeached, then it goes to the Speaker of the House. But
Right,
I don't
that's
know
McCarthy.
what happens if the VP gets impeached, but the president doesn't.
Right, like if the president names a new VP, like I don't know. I'm not even going to comment because I just flat out don't know. So I'm not even going to guess. What I do know is two things. One, how does Kamala get impeached? She doesn't. She just doesn't because we blew a red tsunami in November and we don't have the guns to even think about doing impeachments because you can impeach them all you want and come up with a symbolic impeachment and you're fucking Charlie Brown with Lucy pulling the football out from front of you every single time because it'll go to the Senate and you won't get a conviction on your impeachment. And then you walk around saying, we got an impeachment, and then the other side just fucking laughs at you just like we did twice when the Democrats did the same shit. So Lauren Boebert, and this is another one I was going to post about today and I just never got around to because other things happened. I, honest to God, really tried to like you. I really tried to like you, but this bullshit, and I'm not going to go long and I'm not going to go loud, okay? I'm just going to say what I got to say and get out, okay? This bullshit GOP squad initiation prank that you pulled with, I can't remember what they call it, but it's just one of these things that you guys wangled when you were roasting Kevin McCarthy and that bullshit freak show to get him voted back in as the leader. One of those things that you brought in was that any one member of Congress can come up with this and do something like file a ridiculous, ungettable, completely unattainable, ridiculous order of impeachment against Joe Biden, who you're never going to get the Senate to vote for. Why are you wasting time with this? I tried my best to like you. I tried my best not to put you in that GOP squad like your AOC, and I'm not going to just crush you on this. I'm just going to kind of not try to like you anymore and see what you do. This is salvageable, maybe. This is salvageable, but this was a bad look. This is a Marjorie Taylor Greene move. This is some silly, ridiculous shit. The second part of what I would say is to, what about impeaching Kamala Harris? Is that you have to go so far down the line of succession to get anywhere. Like, okay, so you take out the big, I'm sorry, NSA satellite triangulation. Wasn't about to say take out the big guy, to get the context right, okay? If you impeach and convict the big guy and remove him from office, and then you impeach and convict Kamala Harris, you get Kevin McCarthy. That's not a fucking win. That's a terrible problem. That's a status quo, deep swamp publican mess. You don't get anything done by getting it down to Kevin McCarthy, okay? And the problem becomes you can keep going down that line of succession. You have to go like 72 steps down before you have to go down to the fucking gardener, the guy who trims the rose bushes out in the garden, out in the rose garden. And you go, Emmanuel, what do you think about Ukraine? No, I don't think we should send in no more money. That's when you're going to start getting common sense, when you get down to fucking Emilio, the gardener, in the line of succession after you impeached every other fucking asshole. So that's how, I just wanted to answer that question because I was trying to for like the last 20 minutes and other things kept coming in. So I wanted to get that in there quick. And we're over an hour, so I kind of want to get out of here now. I'm going to get some sleep so I can wake up and see if we can get this thing pulled off tomorrow. So anybody got any last minute stuff you want to dump out there? Anybody other than Linda, because we'll save her for last because she's just going to say no anyway. So what's anybody got? Is anybody even still here? Just busy listening to myself. Everybody left? Did I shut off spaces? I'm an idiot, right? Nope. Linda, you're gone too? Wow, everybody left on me.
Yeah, something happened. I couldn't hear you on spaces at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. It was for how long? Because I really fucking did a good rant.
No, it was only the last minute.
Oh,
maybe.
okay, good.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck happened? I couldn't even... Oh, jeez, no, I did me.
All right, we should stop right now.
Yeah,
Shit's starting to go haywire.
Okay.
Getting tired now. All right. So listen, I'm just going to hit you with a real quick bomb. Since we're canceling the trip tomorrow, it looks like we're probably not going to have a trip this weekend, which maybe nobody gives a fuck. Whatever. I'm going to have fun tomorrow doing whatever I do because I'm a have fun inside guy inside my own head. But as a consolation prize, we're going off the tracks a little and we're doing a weekend trip. This is like 95%, and I'm not even getting into it now because we're getting out of here. This is like 95% on Wednesday, going to the Bronx Zoo. Going to the Bronx Zoo, kids. We're going to the petting zoo, and we're going to see the gorillas, and we're going to see the African plains, and I'll fucking take a camel ride if they'll let me, and I might even buy a balloon and get some popcorn. I'm going to see the monkey house and the freaking penguins and everything. So Wednesday, weather permitting, and I'll tell you more about it over the weekend. We're going to forego this weekend, it looks like, because of the weather. And even if I go tomorrow, we're still going to the Bronx Zoo Wednesday. It's going to just be weird, though, because it's a weekday instead of a weekend. So I don't know how that's going to work yet. I still have to work out the logistics of it. But it's looking pretty good. And it sounded like you guys were pretty psyched about it. A couple people who are still left here on Switters. I just said Twitter Spaces. I condensed it into one word. I just said Spitters. That's pretty cool. So everybody seemed to react to the quick bomb drop announcement about the Bronx Zoo. So it looks like there's some enthusiasm for that, and that's important to me. So cool. And I think I'm done.
That'll be great.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Queen Linda, do you have anything else to say? Because we got to get going.
Nope, I got nothing. nothing else.
All right, awesome.
I
Listen,
know, I wanted to listen more, but I had phone calls and distractions. But
no
it was
worries.
A cool night. I
Well,
appreciate
see,
being in here.
see now, this is where your pal Glenn took good care of you this week and went to the library and figured out how to get the live stuff flipped off of Facebook onto YouTube and then flipped from YouTube onto Substack so you can watch it at your own leisure, at your own whenever you want to, in the comfort of your own home, drinking whatever you want. And you can bang on a bell and drink whenever you want. You don't have to wait for me and shit like that. So we'll have this. In fact, that's a benefit of not going, if we end up not going tomorrow, is that I'll skip over to the library and I'll get this flipped and get it posted on Substack so you can watch it on a replay. There you go. I can make the fucking shortest answer to a question into an hour. I don't know how I do it. It's unbelievable. Like, I could have just said, yeah, I'm going to have that posted on Substack tomorrow. You can watch it when you want. Right? And you would have understood, right? And I just did 3 minutes on it. I don't know why I do that shit. Somebody got to stop me. Linda, you got to stop me.
Well, look, everybody has to have a talent. Okay, that's your talent.
My talent is not being able to shut the fuck up.
And someday you're going to benefit from that.
Someday I'm going to find out how to do a marketable talent, because I can't seem to do that. Speaking of which, go to pcsnation.substack.com and subscribe, and that's as far as I'm going. You all know the whole routine, and most of you are over there already. So if you are, drag a friend over and make them sign up. Just give them the $6 and say, here's $6. Go fucking sign up. Trust me. If you like it, you give me the $6 back. Or whatever. Tell me you gave your friend $6. If you tell me you gave your friend $6 and said, go sign up for this guy, and he does or she does, you come and tell me and I'll give you that month free on the end of whatever your subscription is. How's that for a deal? Who does that? Not Ben Shapiro. Nope. Not Steven Crowder. Only your pal Glenn does dumb shit like that. Anyway, I love you guys and have a great rest of your night, and dance and do whatever you're going to do and whatever, and get some rest. Because whether we go to this track meet or not tomorrow, we're still going to have some fun things to do. So everybody be ready and have sweet dreams. And I got a couple more posts I'll put up, and everybody have a great rest of your night. Facebook, we're out. Twitter Spaces. Listen, if you want to hang out a little while longer on Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you want to hang out a little while longer, flip on over to the Twitter platform, because we're going to keep it open like the PCS Lounge after party, at least for a couple of minutes while I break things down. So if you got anything else you want to say that you didn't get to, come and join us over on Twitter. It's at PCS Nation Bitches, BITCHZ. Come over, see us over there. And thanks for coming out tonight. I hope you had a good time. And I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm out.